This is an interview on the 17th of January 2009 with William Thomas Van Prooven, VX147252, V185304, Private, 39th Battalion E Company. Bill, can I call you Bill?
Yes.
Bill, you were with the 14th Militia Battalion before the war, or during the beginnings of the war.
That's right.
And you were based, just tell us a bit about that. You did some training at Mount Martha?
Yes, I trained at Mount Martha.
Was it mainly just infantry type training?
Mainly infantry type training. I was going to learn to drive, get a licence and drive.
And you were just down there with the 14th Militia Battalion at that stage?
Right.
And word came around about the formation of a new battalion for service in New Guinea?
That's right.
And what did you think about that?
I thought it was all right.
What did your parents think about you going up to, or putting in for a battalion that was going overseas?
Well, my mother was very worried about it.
So you left the 14th Militia Battalion, and then did you make your way to Darley?
Yes, we were sent to Darley.
Were there many from the 14th that went with you, or only just a handful?
Only a handful.
And what was it like at Darley?
It was quite good. I liked it up there.
And your training at Darley was just, again, basically infantry training?
Yes, that's right.
And did you start to make a few mates there with the 39th?
I made a few new friends, yes.
You were attached to E Company, which was the machine gun company. Did you do much machine gun training at Darley?
No, not a great deal, no.
Before you left for Sydney to go up on the Aquitania, you wanted to see your mum. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, well, when I was told that we were going to Sydney and going to New Guinea, I wanted to see my mother, and there was no leave. So I went AWOL with another fellow. We caught the train to Melbourne. I saw Mum and told her what was happening. She was upset, of course, naturally. I slept the night at home and got the train back next morning. Arrived back in camp with my friend, and we were not charged for being AWOL.
Is that because you were just about to leave for Sydney?
Because we were just about to leave for Sydney. We didn't have time to go to court.
Do you remember much about the train trip up there?
No, not a great deal, apart from waving to people on the way up and on the various stations. We were waving and saying goodbye.
And then you got to the docks in Sydney, and the Aquitania was there. What did you think of the Aquitania?
Well, I'd never seen anything so big in my life before.
Had you ever been interstate before? It was probably the first time you'd been...
No, I'd been to Sydney before.
But the Aquitania was a very impressive ship, was it?
Oh, magnificent. One of the biggest in the business at that time.
Were you excited about getting on board and getting on?
I was excited about going on board, yes.
Was there a large convoy with you as you went through Sydney?
No, there was not.
And so then you were on the Aquitania, and what was life like on the ship on the way up?
Oh, it was quite good. The meals were pretty good. We were given various duties, sensory duty around the ship, looking for submarines and that sort of thing when we were at sea. A bit of exercise, and it was quite good, really.
And then you finally arrived in Port Moresby. What were your feelings about when you steamed into Port Moresby?
Well, I'd never seen anything like it, of course. I'd never seen any islands before, and it was completely all new to me.
It would have been pretty warm at that stage.
It was hot.
Then you disembarked off the ship via motor launches, because I don't think the Aquitania...
Yeah, we came off on boats there.
And then you marched all through the night. Is that right up to the 7 Mile?
That's right.
What do you think about that?
I wasn't very impressed at all.
And what happened when you got to the 7 Mile? There was obviously nothing prepared.
No, we just put our gear down and slept on what we could, using packs for a pillow and that sort of thing.
And the mosquitoes would have been pretty active.
They loved us, the mosquitoes.
And your life around the camp, you mentioned before it was a bit monotonous because you were there for quite some time. Just guard duties and there wasn't much training involved, was there?
No, not a great deal, no.
And tell us something about the bombing raids, because you had to go through a lot of bombing raids.
Well, there was not much we could do about it. We just got into a trench and stayed there, and a few of us fired a few shots at the planes as they swept over us, the fighters. Not that they'd done much good, I don't think, but at least it was, you were doing something.
And Bill, you had a few mates up there. You were known as Old Bill.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the reason for that was.
No, we're all the same age, just about.
So there was yourself, Old Bill, Paul Rich, Doc Cyclops and Aussie, and a couple of others. And you had a sign on your tent called the Seldom Inn. And you were saving some beer for your 21st. Can you just tell us a bit about that?
Well, a lot of us were around about the same age, and we're coming towards 21. And our beer issue was either 1 bottle or 2 bottles, I'm not sure now. And we were all saving it up, not drinking it. And the officers put in their bottle of whiskey or gin, whatever it was, and we were going to have a general 21st birthday party. And during one of the Japanese raids, a direct hit blew the whole lot up. We lost the lot.
You wouldn't have been too happy about that.
And that was the end of the party. Nobody got hurt, that was the main thing.
There would have been a lot of air raids.
There were a lot of air raids, yes.
Do you remember anything about strafing by Japanese Zeros?
No, I don't remember so much the strafing. The bombing was the main issue.
And do you remember when the Australian Kitty Hawks arrived too?
Yes, I remember when they came. I thought it was wonderful. I thought this is the end of the war.
Was there much entertainment for the troops on the 7 Mile at that stage?
No. The only entertainment we had was a picture show occasionally, which we used to travel a few miles to. Not everybody went, of course. It was only took your turn. That was the only entertainment we had.
Did you get many letters from home or any parcels, and did you write yourself?
Yes, my mother sent me many parcels and wrote quite frequently. And every opportunity I've got of writing a letter, I did so. But the opportunity wasn't always there, of course.
Did you get many food parcels, or were they just...
Yes, I got a few food parcels arrived in Tech.
They would have been welcomed.
Well, like Christmas all over again.
What did you do of a night time? Was there much to do of a night?
There was nothing to do with a night time. If you had a duty to do, you done your duty and then try to get some sleep.
Did the men didn't play cards or anything like that? And at this stage, Bill, were you doing your Vickers training at the 7 Mile? Was there any kind of machine gun training?
No, I've done my training. Yeah, well, I was doing some training on the 7 Mile, yes.
Some of the 39th were used to unload ships down at the docks during their time. Were you part of that?
Well, I have done that, yes. We took our turn of that.
Now, the Japanese were about to land on the north coast, and it was decided to send B Company up the track. So B Company left first, and you were with E Company. And how did you feel about heading up the track? Because it would have been into the unknown.
Well, we didn't know what we were going into. It was the unknown. We thought it was just trek over the mountains. We didn't realise what was ahead of us.
Probably a good thing at the time.
It was a good thing at the time, because had we realised what was ahead of us, well, we would have been in a mess.
And you were carrying part of a Vickers, were you?
Yes,
And that would have been pretty heavy.
it was heavy, yes.
And you still had your 303 too.
That's right.
And how was the walk? Can you describe what the walk was like
Well, the
up the trail?
walk was terrible. Very hilly, wet in places, mud and slush, and lots of stairs, which you had to tramp up and carry all your gear with you. Never experienced anything like it, of course, and never experienced anything like it since, thank heavens. But it was very, very, very tough, and sleeping at night was very difficult. Sleeping out in the scrub with the mosquitoes and sometimes the rain and the mud and slush. And a tin of bully beef and biscuits to go for breakfast, which was always enjoyable, of course, like hell. But we got by.
There wasn't a great variety of food, was there?
There was not a great variety of food, no.
How did your boots and your clothes stand up to it?
Fairly good, really good, really.
And did you wear your felt hat or your tin hat most of the time?
Tin hat.
And when you were walking up the track, you would have got a fair bit of help and assistance from your mates in your platoon?
Oh yes, we all looked after one another, and the native carriers were quite helpful too, of course.
So you had a lot of
Fuzzy Wuzzies were known, I think, in those days.
You had a lot of native carriers. They would have been carrying a lot of the gear?
They were carrying a lot of the food and a lot of the gear, yes.
Did you have much to do with any of those lads?
No, not a great deal, not a great deal. I saw them every day, but I didn't make really friends of them.
They certainly contributed in a big way.
Well, they helped to win the war.
So you got as far as Deniki. The battalion had been pushed back from Kokoda,
Yeah,
and you got up around the Deniki area
that's right.
with your company. Did you then make a bit of a stand there? And
From memory we did, Ross, but my memory fades a bit. I'm not too sure of what happened there. But I know we never got into Kokoda itself. We got close, but not into Kokoda.
and you were at Isharava also, weren't you?
Yes.
Did you set the machine gun up there?
Yes, I did.
And you would have had a few pot shots at Japanese at that stage?
Oh, yes, they were pointed out to us as a group there, and you just set the gun in place and spray the whole area and hope for the best.
The battalion would have been taking quite a few casualties at that stage.
Oh, yes, we lost quite a lot.
And you would have lost a couple of mates?
Yes, I did.
That would have hurt you quite a bit.
Oh, that was heartbreaking, particularly when you had to bury them.
Can you just describe that? Well, what that was like, Bill?
Well, we had to dig a hole, and we used their rain, I forget what they call them now, their rain jacket they used to put over, there was a name for it, I just can't think of it now. And we cover them in that and a blanket, if we could get a blanket somewhere, cover them up. Put them in the hole and cover them up with dirt. And that broke my heart.
Did anyone say any words for them when they...
Not always, there wasn't always a padre there, of course. But I used to say a few words to myself and say a prayer.
At that stage, there wouldn't have been, again, not too much to eat, and supplies would have been thin.
Oh, there wasn't very much to eat. If it wasn't for the biscuits and the bully beef, we would have starved.
And you wouldn't have been getting much sleep, and you would have been in action. You would have been in action for quite a number of weeks, so you would have felt very much exhausted. And
Exactly.
how was your uniform holding up at that stage?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty good.
And how was the morale of your mates and the rest of the guys in the company? Was it still good?
Yes, it was good. We used to look after one another as much as we could.
And you mentioned before about one of the officers, the 2IC for your company was Bill Merritt.
That's right.
And he was okay, wasn't he?
He was okay. He was a good bloke.
You weren't wounded at all during the
No,
battles?
no, I wasn't wounded really.
Bill, when you're at Ishiarava and the 39th was there by themselves, they got relieved by the 2nd 14th. Do you remember much about that?
I remember being very happy about it, that's for sure. And they came in new and fresh and ready to go and take over our positions. We were pretty poor at the time, hadn't had much to eat, and dirty and filthy. Of course, there was no hot and cold showers or anything like that in those days. We were rotten, actually.
And they were pretty fresh.
And they were fresh as daisies and took over straight away.
Because they'd come back from the Middle East
Yes, that's right.
and they were AIF.
That's right.
And it must have been a pretty good feeling.
Oh, it was a wonderful feeling. And as I said before, they never referred to us chocos or anything like that.
You never got any of the Chocos AIF
No,
business?
not at all. They were very pleased to relieve us and let us go.
And they took the full brunt of the fighting then,
They
didn't
took the full brunt of the fighting then.
Although the 39th did sort of stick around a bit anyway.
We did stick around for a little while, but majority of the 39th were in action, which was my company. I was in. They got us out pretty quickly, down to the plains, you know, which I can remember. I wasn't in the mountains very long, and as soon as we got down there, I went down with malaria, of course. And that was the end of the finish section, really, when that happened.
When you were on the track, Damien Para took a lot of movie footage of the 39th.
He certainly did.
Can you tell us a bit about Damien Para? Because you spent a bit of time with him, didn't you?
Yes, I did. He was a wonderful bloke. Very caring and helpful. He was a great fella. Took a lot of photos of the troops and took a big risk, of course. He did get killed in the finish, I think, from memory. But he lasted a long time, but he was a wonderful bloke.
And he was a nice bloke to you?
He was a nice bloke to me, yes.
And what was the reason why he was with you? Was he just happened to be around your company?
He just happened to be in the area at the time, yes. He was filming the 39th Battalion.
Was he just by himself with a couple of natives, or did he have...
He was just mainly by himself most of the time. He did have help from the natives occasionally, but mainly he was on his own.
Because some of the film he's taken is some of the most famous film
Oh, it is, yes.
ever taken.
Indeed, yeah. It is.
He sounds like a good bloke.
He did, yeah. He took a lot of pictures of the 39th Battalion, which must be about somewhere.
Did he take any film of you, Bill?
No, I don't remember him filming me.
So when the 2nd 14th are relieved, you must have been, as you said before, pretty filthy.
Oh, we were rotten.
Because you hadn't had a wash
You
for a long
couldn't
time.
wash, you couldn't shave. You know, toiletry, there were no toilets or anything like that. And being human, of course, you had to go to the toilet. And there wasn't any. Because you just imagine what happened.
You wouldn't have had much in your packs, or...
No, all we
At all?
had was some bully beef and some biscuits.
Did you have a ground sheet to sleep on? Or?
We had a ground sheet. That was what I was trying to think of before, a ground sheet that we buried a few people in. That's all we had. As a ground sheet, there was no blankets or anything. You put your ground sheet down and just laid on it. If it was wet, it was wet.
Didn't have a spare pair of socks or a spare shirt or anything?
No,
You had to be in the same clothes
We're
all
in the
those
same
weeks.
clothes all the time.
Your feet must have been rotten.
Yeah, well, they were.
Did you have much trouble with your feet, or were they okay?
No, my feet were okay. If we got a chance, we washed them in a creek. Pardon me. You know, sometimes you'd be travelling around, there'd be a bit of a creek running past that you could jump into and wash your feet and that sort of like that. But that didn't happen very often, of course.
When the 2nd 14th got there, they must have thought, is a dirty bunch of buggers?
Oh, they probably did. Yeah, but they soon found out what it was all about. That's for sure.
And yeah, with the 2nd 14th, did you see many of them coming back through as wounded after that?
No, I didn't. No, I did not.
And you're one of the few that came back to Koitaki. There wouldn't have been many left in the
There
battalion.
wasn't very many at all. Very few. And then, as I said before, when I took bad with malaria, I didn't see anybody after that, really. You know, when they took me into the hospital and then onto a boat back to Cairns, I lost contact.
So at the end of the battles, when you got pushed back, you were finally relieved.
Yes.
Did you give your weapons in, or did you also take those back?
No, we took our weapons back with us.
And you were relieved and finally got back to Koitaki, was it?
Yes.
Is that when you came down with malaria? You got very sick
That's
of
when
malaria.
I got malaria badly.
Can you tell us a bit about that? Yeah.
Well, I couldn't do much to help myself, and they put me into hospital in, I think it was Port Moresby. And from there they put me on a ship and sent me back to Australia, and I landed in Cairns.
That was on the Duntroon, wasn't it?
Yes, and I was in hospital at Cairns on the Tablelands, I think it was there, for quite some time. I was very sick. Took a long while to recover from the malaria.
There would have been a lot of soldiers in a hospital that had just come back from New Guinea also, was
That's
there?
what they were. The nursing staff were wonderful. They probably saved my life.
Did they? You must have been very sick then.
I was. I was in hospital for some weeks.
Were you still getting letters from your mother at that stage too? She would have been worried.
Yes, she was worried. They notified her where I was, and after that they decided to send me on leave, home leave.
And you went by train down to
I
Melbourne.
went by train down home, yes. But it wasn't very well going home on the train.
And you were still receiving treatment while you're on leave too.
I was, yes.
By that stage, the battalion, because the battalion was just about to be disbanded.
Exactly, yes.
So, what did you think about that? The battalion.
Well, I was a bit worried about it, but I knew very well that there wasn't very many left. I didn't know how many, but I knew there wouldn't be very many left. And I started to wonder what was going to happen to me, because I was still in the army.
And you got sent to Royal Park?
And they sent me out to Royal Park. Did not know what was ahead of me, of course. And they joined me up with the engineers, the Royal Engineers.
And there was no choice about that?
There was no choice, no.
You were just told what to do?
That's right, and I was attached to a docks operating company. And which was all foreign to me, of course, all new to me. But I was quite happy.
And they sent you up to Wagga, up to Kapuka.
They sent me to Kapuka at Wagga for further training.
in how to obviously operate.
How to operate on the wharves, loading ships and unloading ships.
And you were a checker, were you?
I was a checker, yes.
And what did checkers do? Obviously check.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I checked foodstuffs and all that sort of thing, ammunition and whatever was going through onto the boat.
Because that would have been a big admin job. And you had an admin job before you joined the army, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, with the finance company.
Yeah.
So you did some training in Australia at the docks with this company,
Yes, I did.
with the docks operating company, and you went back up to New Guinea.
We went back to New Guinea, yes.
And you would have been one of the few men in the docks operating company that actually had seen action in the jungles of New Guinea.
That's right, I was.
What do you think about that?
Oh, I didn't think much about it, really. I just thought it was part of the job.
So you did a lot of loading and unloading in Lae and Madang,
In Madang and Wee-Wake and Rabaul,
Salamoa.
Salamoa, Lae.
So life would have been pretty good at that
Oh,
stage?
yes, it wasn't too bad. We had a few air raids on the wards and that sort of thing, but it wasn't too bad.
And at that stage you were doing more office work and you got a promotion
Yes, I did.
up to corporal.
They made me a corporal.
You got paid more money? Was that
Oh,
that would have been well?
a few extra pence a week.
Your mother would have been happier that you're out of the firing line too.
She
wouldn't
was happy, yes.
How was your malaria at that stage? Was it reoccurring or was it
I
under
had a
control?
few reoccurrences of it. Not as bad as the original bout, but there were times where I wasn't feeling the best.
So you spent the best part of the rest of the war up in the islands with the docks operating company?
I did.
Were you up there when the war ended or did you come back to Australia before that?
I was up there when... I'm sure I was up there when the war ended.
Can you remember when the war ended? Was there a big party or celebration?
Oh, not a big party. There was nothing to party with, actually. But everybody was delighted with it, of course. And preparation was then made to come home, which took place. And I think I came back on the Taruna. I'm not sure about that. I think I came back on the Taruna to Cairns. And from there I came down to Melbourne by train.
Did it take a while to get back from New Guinea? Did you have to wait your turn or
Had to wait our turn, yes.
there would have been a lot of troops coming back from the
Oh,
islands?
yes, there was.
And then you went back to Royal Park
I went back to Royal Park, yes.
and you were discharged in
I was
March
there for a short time and I was discharged from Royal Park,
in 1946.
yes.
In March 1946. Was it good to be out of the army?
I was happy to come out, yes. In one piece, particularly.
And the malaria was still okay at that stage?
Well, I still had bouts of it, which I received treatment for, of course. Well, I think we were taking Ataprin at the time. I think it was Ataprin.
And did you get a lot out of the army, I suppose, for your time? Did you enjoy most of your time in the army?
I enjoyed most of my time in the army. I was particularly pleased that I'd come back in one piece, of course. And yes, I really enjoyed my time in the army.
Did you keep
A
in
bit
contact?
frightened a lot of times, of course, when things weren't going too well.
Oh, well, everyone would have been the same.
Yes, that's right.
Did you keep in contact with any of your mates from the 39th or the docks operating company after the war?
The docks operating company I did, but I think I contacted a few of my old 39th mates, but I can't remember who they were now, of course. But I was in contact for a while, yes.
And then after that, you joined the post office or the PMG?
I joined the PMG about a month or so after I was out, yes.
And you stayed with them for
I
over
stayed
40
with them
years?
till I retired over 40 years.
And you're in the mail?
I was in the mail section at the corner of Spencer and Burke Streets for quite a long time. Many years. Then I went over to the railways. I was attached to the Victorian Railways, looking after the mail going on the trains and the mail coming in by train, because that's the only way mail was moved in those days. And I retired from that position.
At 65?
Yes.
Well, Bill, on behalf of the 39th Battalion Association Historical Subcommittee, I would like to thank you for your time and this very interesting interview. Thank you.
And thank you for your kindness and for your help.
It's a pleasure.